All of us know that Invincible is filled with gore and horrifying scenes, but there were some scenes that completely shocked us and even gave us nightmares. So here are some of the scariest episodes from Invincible. The first one on the list is none other than the pilot episode. When Mark gets his powers, it seems like this will be just like any other superhero show, as we see Mark go through his training arc. Even when Omni-Man punches Mark a little too hard, no one suspects any evil intentions from him. After that incident, Mark is determined to prove that he could be a superhero just like his father, and gets into his first fight with a makeshift costume. But things take a turn for the worse, and he ends up getting saved by Omni-Man. Reassuring Mark, Omni-Man takes him to Art as a way to make up for the fight. Mark then gets a proper costume from Art with the iconic name Invincible. He then goes on his first proper mission against Kilkennon and wins effortlessly. Everything seemed right in the world as the episode ended, but as with any good superhero show, there's a post-credit scene. The episode shifts to cutting between all the Guardians of the Globe as they get called to their HQ. None of them had any idea about what would come next as they gathered there. Omni-Man is the last to arrive on the scene, and he makes a dramatic entry by trying to punch through Immortal, who is saved by Red Rush. Omni-Man fights the whole team, but none of his hits really land since Red Rush pushes his teammates out of the way. After that, Red Rush saves Aquarius and then tries to use his speed to fight Omni-Man, but Omni-Man predicts his movement and catches him. In the first brutal death in the show, Omni-Man crushes his skull with his bare hands, making the rest of the team freeze. Rage then rises in the heroes as they band together, but it's still not enough as Darkwing is smashed to the ground, exploding his brains, and then his body gets thrown to Green Ghost. She looks up, left speechless and not knowing what to do, but she isn't even allowed a moment for grief as her face is punched through by Omni-Man, killing her instantly. Omni-Man then uses her body as a shield against Aquarius, showing just how brutal he could be. Even then, the other heroes believe that Omni-Man must be mind-controlled and couldn't be doing this out of his own free will. But considering 3 of their teammates had already died, it was either them or Omni-Man, and they weren't going to die without a fight. War Woman then hits Omni-Man, but the move backfired as her mace was taken by Omni-Man and then used to kill King Aquarius. His body arrives at the feet of Martian Man, who immediately springs into action and manages to bind Omni-Man as Immortal and War Woman take turns at hitting him. But it doesn't last long, as Omni-Man rips out Martian Man's brain, killing him. The former superhero then goes after War Woman, snapping her neck in one swift move. As a chilling end to the scene, Immortal is the last to die after watching all of his teammates fall. His last words were him asking, "Why?" For which he gets no reply as his head is decapitated. The bad guy won in this one as a fitting start to the show. The next on the list is episode 5 of season 1, That Actually Hurt, which seems to be a well-suited name for what's to come. Unlike the pilot episode, this one has blood right out of the gate when Titan makes his debut. He kills 10 gangsters for his boss, Machine Head, and threatens many others. When he returns, Machine Head is revealed to hold Titan's family as blackmail, telling Titan that he will kill them if orders are disobeyed. After that, we see Mark getting acquainted with Titan, who convinces him to help defeat Machine Head. Even though Nolan warns him against helping, saying that he'd be making a big mistake, Invincible doesn't listen. In other parts of the world, the newly formed Guardians of the Globe were having trouble. Even when they won their first fight, there were several casualties. From there, we get to see one of the most brutal scenes in season 1, where Invincible faces Machine Head along with Titan. Machine Head had already seen them coming due to a chip that Titan had gotten for him and prepared accordingly. Using his riches, he summoned the best fighters he could find, the scariest of them being Battle Beast, but others include Furnace, Kursk, Magmaniac, and Tether Tyrant. Invincible and Titan quickly get overwhelmed by the number of supervillains they have to fight, but just as Battle Beast was smashing Mark's body to a pulp, Nolan anonymously tipped off Cecil. He quickly sent the Guardians of the Globe. The day is saved, right? Wrong. Even together, the team struggles to overpower the villains. Battle Beast gives a devastating blow to Invincible's body. Believing that Invincible is dead, Black Samson tries to fight Battle Beast, but Battle Beast smashes Samson's head against the ground and throws him away. Monster Girl reacts by going after the Beast herself and gets a couple of punches in, but she was no match for him and gets smashed against the ceiling. The Beast then jumped on her chest and crushed her head with 2 rocks. The Guardians finally recover their bearings in the fight, taking out Furnace, Megamaniac, Kursk, and Tether Tyrant. Battle Beast exits the scene, claiming that there was no honor in killing insects. With more than a half of their team down, it was truly a brutal blow in the beloved team. To make matters worse, Titan takes Machine Head's place, becoming the next dictator of the area. Truly a chilling betrayal. This next episode has to be the most cruel episode of the whole show. Of course, we're talking about the very last episode of Season 1, Episode 8, Where I Really Come From. The episode opens with Mark watching his own father kill Immortal. Believing that this father was being mind-controlled, he tries to look for any device attached to Nolan, but Nolan stops him and explains where he is really from. The planet of Viltrum turns out to be nothing like the fairy tale that was told to Mark. The scene shifts to the Viltrumites killing each other to get rid of everyone who was weak. Once they were done with their own planet, they moved on to others, becoming conquerors. In a chilling dialogue, Nolan admits that Debbie, Mark's mother, was nothing more than a pet to him.
Is Mom's life worthless?
In the grand scheme of things, yes.
Debbie.
How he thought that Mark, who had dedicated his whole life to becoming a superhero so that he could save lives, would join him to destroy those very lives. But Mark wasn't going to give in and agreed to his father's plan. After hearing this, Omni-Man decides to show Mark just how invincible he is. He starts fighting his own son, thrashing him on everything he could find. Cecil tries to stall by sending some jets to fight Omni-Man. When the fighter jets get there, they get into the crossfire. Invincible tries to save one of the pilots from one of the burning jets and succeeds in getting him on the ground. But Omni-Man comes up from behind him and simply smashes the pilot's head like a squishy toy. Omni-Man then punches Invincible so hard that he goes flying through Chicago, killing many people on his way. Jessica and Gretchen Duval, who create Scott's arc into the villain Powerplex, are also killed despite Invincible's best efforts. Omni-Man then smashes Invincible through a subway, where we get possibly one of the most brutal scenes in the entire show. In an extremely brutal scene, Omni-Man drives Mark through a moving train full of people, killing everyone on board. You can hear the blood splashes as Invincible watches everyone die because of him being held like that. Omni-Man doesn't stop there though, smashing Invincible through a ship and mountains. Once Invincible was pinned down, he ruthlessly and repeatedly punched Invincible's face, cracking the ground that surrounded them and getting his own son's blood on himself. The blows were strong enough to echo and shake the camera as blood splattered everywhere. Omni-Man left Mark barely alive and killed 2,731 people in Chicago, all in one episode. And that brings us to the end of Season 1, Scariest Episodes. The next one is Season 2, Episode 4, It's Been a While. This episode actually starts off on a good note. Omni-Man flees Earth and finds himself on another planet, Thraxia. There, he becomes the superhero he always pretended to be on Earth. He's so good to the people that he becomes their emperor. He also gets a new family with a Thraxian woman named Andressa, and has a son with her. But he knew that the Viltrumites would soon be hunting him and kill his son for being weak. So he sent a Thraxian to get Mark to help him. When told that the planet was in great danger, Mark jumped to help, leaving his university and girlfriend behind for the journey. But on the planet, Mark meets his father instead, who explains the situation to him. Nolan believed that they had enough time to train Mark for the fight, but it was cut short when the Viltrumites invaded soon after. Despite Invincible trying to get Andressa and her son to safety, a Viltrumite by the name of Lucan finds them. He fights Invincible, soon after which Omni-Man gets involved. Nolan manages to rip out Lucan's guts, and believing him to be dead, he goes to help Mark. When they come out, they find that Thraxia is completely trashed, with countless casualties by the Viltrumites. Nolan promises to kill the Viltrumites for the damage they caused, and goes against one called Vidor. The other, called Thula, goes against Invincible. After a long and brutal fight, Omni-Man manages to kill both of them. But in a twist of events, just as the duo had let their guard down, Lucan comes up behind Nolan and breaks his spine.
Mark, are you okay?
No.
Don't worry, it's over. Let me have a look.
Dad!
Next time you kill somebody, make sure they're dead.
The episode ends with the Viltrumites capturing Nolan and taking him with them. After all of the character development that Nolan went through in this episode, it broke everyone's hearts to watch him be captured at the end of it all. Next up is ironically the next episode, Season 2, Episode 5. This must come as a shock. Mark finally returns to Earth after months in Thraxia with his half-brother in tow. Everything seems to be going back to normal, but in yet another twist of events, we find out that Shapesmith is actually a Martian. The one he replaced was Russ Livingston, the astronaut who went to Mars. Russ had now been taken as the host for the Sequids, and after taking over Mars, had targeted Earth. The Guardians of the Globe quickly jumped to the rescue, splitting up to neutralize the Sequids and hold down the fort on Earth. Though the Martian war isn't all that scary, what happens back on Earth certainly is. Sorry Rex, it's all your fault for saying that two world-shattering emergencies can't happen at the same time.
We're supposed to monitor other threats while they're gone.
Like there's gonna be two huge world-shattering emergencies at the same time? Oh no!
The Lizard League tries to blackmail the government to comply with their commands under the threat of nuking cities if they don't. The heroes who stayed back, Rex, Duplicate, and Shrinking Ray, get on the scene. But Komodo Dragon, one of King Lizard's henchmen, proves to be a fatal enemy. He crushes all of Duplicate's clones faster than she can create them. In the end, he smashes together the last two clones on the scene, leading us to believe that she died. As we know, she was found alive later in the season, but watching that sent a chill down our spines. Ray reacted by killing Salamander, entering through his eyes and exploding him from within. But when she tried to do the same to Komodo Dragon, she was crushed alive by the giant lizard. Her bones made a sickening crunch as the blast flashed a victory grin. Rex quickly finished off Iguana and went after him in anger. The lizard's mistake came when he bit off one of Rex's hands that held one of his exploding discs. His head exploded, and with that, it seemed like the battle was finished. But Rex celebrated too early because King Lizard emerged from the background, pointing a gun at Rex's head as the episode ended. This episode had some of the beloved cast take fatal hits. Though all of them recovered, our hearts might take a little bit longer. The next is none other than the last episode of the second season, episode 8. I Thought You Were Stronger. The episode opens with Nolan alive but captured by the Viltrumites. The scene then cuts to Angstrom holding Debbie and Oliver hostage. He believes all versions of Invincible across all dimensions must be evil and that this one was the reason for him being deformed. So using threats against Debbie as bait, he puts Invincible through portals to other dimensions. The first was one overrun by dinosaurs, then another where a villain called Prof. Ock is fighting a superhero. When he came back from that one, he told Angstrom that the deformity was caused when Angstrom was trying to save him from being killed by the Maulers. This triggers a memory response in Angstrom where he cycled through different dimensions. Each one was a haunting reminder of the family members, colleagues, and friends that he lost because of Invincible being evil in those dimensions. Guess we know why Nolan thought that Mark would join him, because in other dimensions, he did. Angstrom then sends him to a dimension filled with zombies. It's also revealed that in other dimensions, even Debbie joins Nolan and Mark in conquering the world. He continues to put Mark through several other dimensions, each one meant to wear him down. When he finally brings Mark back, he tells him that he wants to be the one to end Invincible. He starts a fight that spans dimensions, smashing Mark through all of them. They finally end up in a bar in Desert Dimension, where Mark gets the upper hand. In a scene that mirrored his father, Mark punched Angstrom's head in until he was sure that Angstrom was dead. Realizing that he had become everything he hated, it made Mark and us shudder. Last but certainly not the least, we have the last episode of Season 3, Episode 8, I Thought You Would Never Shut Up. With Rex dead, even the hospital, along with most other heroes from the Invincible War that was fought in the previous episode, the world was still reeling. Most cities needed major reconstruction, but the horrors did not stop there, with the arrival of the Viltrumite, Conquest. The episode opens with Conquest and Invincible starting their fight, which sends ripples throughout the whole world. They take it to space and back, still fighting. The situation gets so desperate that Debbie willingly sends Oliver to help Invincible. But even his help wasn't enough, as he is nearly torn apart by the Brute if it wasn't for Invincible. With no one else to help Invincible, he gets smashed through by Conquest, and Cecil helplessly watches, just like the rest of us. Eve, having just regained consciousness, realizes that Mark is in danger and immediately jumps in. When Eve catches up to Conquest, she watches as he breaks Invincible's leg. In anger, she puts up a good fight, but in the end, she wasn't enough. Conquest breaks through Eve's armor like it's glass and punches through her face and body. Eve dies in Invincible's hands, the one who loved her with all of his heart. The sound of his heart breaking can be heard through his voices when he admits that he can't live without her.
I can't do this without you. I can't live without you. Please, 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 please.
Mark then turns to Conquest with the worst rage he has ever felt. Even with broken limbs, he punches through the Viltrumite, going as far as biting through him when he was grabbed. They continue fighting, sending ripples through the atmosphere. Eve's full powers are finally activated just as Invincible pins Conquest down. She manages to regenerate her whole body, but Conquest takes this as an opportunity to recover and hit back. Conquest almost succeeded in killing Invincible, with his eyes rolling back as life drained from him. But a recovered Eve roasts Conquest in a laser blast of her power at full force, stopping him. Conquest still doesn't stay down though, raising up again even though his skin has melted off. When he threatened Eve again, Mark punched his face repeatedly repeatedly with his only good hand. Conquest ends up breaking that hand too, so Mark resorts to using his head to smash Conquest's face to a pulp. Covered his head completely in Conquest's blood, Mark goes completely psychotic in this scene, delivering bone-chilling blows to Conquest, ending the fight. But of course, the series won't let us go without knowing that, even after all of this, Conquest was being revived by Cecil at the episode's end. And there we have it. That's the end of our list. Leave a like and comment down below the episode that scared you the most. And if you enjoyed this video, then take a look at this video where we go over every death in the show.